packet. Obviously, you approved your list of vouchers, of which you got to see, and but having that part of the public packet as well, so that those in the public audience can see what vouchers you're actually approving, would be helpful. A couple items on today's agenda. Item number 2 is declaring certain items as
Excuse me, Mayor, we'll allow you to have public comment when we get to that agenda item.
Oh, okay.
Everything that you can talk about right now will be items that are not on the agenda.
But each
there will
item
be a public comment
on each item.
to each item simply, as we do.
Again, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Ms. Lauderdale? Let me explain again or remind you that Meg, the executive assistant, has a card. She'll flash a card. You have 3 minutes. She'll give you a card that means 2 minutes left, and then she'll give you the red card. So if somebody's not going to sit here with the stopwatch, okay? Ms. Lauderdale, please.
Good morning. My name is Julie Lauderdale, and I live in Coopville. As of 8 p.m. yesterday evening, the financials had not been posted on the website. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the board's goals are to regain the public trust and to regain and to reach its financial and to get its financial and managerial house in order. Let's put it that way. The Whidbey Island community is rich in executive level financial, managerial, and entrepreneurial experience and expertise. Let us help you reach your goals by posting your financials on your website in a timely manner so that we can come to each meeting prepared with good questions and good counsel and wise counsel. Thank you.
Any other comments? Sir, would you identify yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dan Brown. I'm a longtime rider on the buses, and had some questions last month about the radios. And I can see that none of that has been put on the agenda for today, so none of my questions were really answered. Well, I think last week or last month, we were told that the systems were very rarely ever down. Is that correct, Sean?
Yes.
And but that does not resolve the problems of the radio transmissions on the island in certain areas. And south of Greenbank, service is very poor. And in other areas, it's just, there's spots along the islands that the radios just don't work. And for the safety of the public, they need to work. Council's aware that, when people ride the bus, something happens, Island Transit's responsible. Another concern of mine is the ability of the people in IT, what their qualifications are. Has anybody looked into that? Whether they even have the qualifications to do this job. Jill said last meeting that the county's going digital, and IT didn't know about that evidently, and now what's going to happen now? But we need the radios fixed, and we need some of these people that are incompetent maybe to think about getting another job. So let's not cover these things up, managers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, that is. Your last name?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Diane Bolton, I live in Langley, and I was an operator for Island Transit. I retired at the end of November, and I drove for Island Transit for 5 years. And before that, I retired from UPS, where I had 33 years of service and 29 years of safe driving. And I had 5 years of safe driving at Island Transit. And the radios, I think the board needs to know, are a huge issue for the operators. It's so frustrating. You get no reception at all between Freeland and Langley Road, out on Skagit Head, Bayview Road, Max Welton Road. And so if you have a problem and you're trying to reach dispatch, and what you maybe can hear, but what other operators hear is dispatch saying, we can't hear you, call us back in a few minutes when you're in a better spot. It's really not, it's a safety issue, and it also at some point might be a liability issue for Island Transit. So I just wanted you to know, from an operator's perspective, how serious this radio problem is.
Thank you, Ms. Moulton. Any other comments? Yes, sir. Identify yourself.
John Thompson, I'm an operator, been here 5 years. Just want to know, I haven't seen an agenda, but is the status of the 411 on that agenda? Is there need to be some discussion about the 411 and whether it's going to stay part of our operations? Any word about that?
Thank you. Ken, there isn't an agenda item addressing the routes right now, specifically.
Not right now.
Would you be able to answer his question?
A little bit later, and under my report, Sean will be addressing the 411.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we'll get back. You'll be staying here, Mr. Thompson?
Cool.
Okay. All right. Any further questions, comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Dan Couture. I am the senior operator at Island Transit. I've been here almost 20 years. And I have to agree with what these other two people said about the radios. It's horrible. I can't really add much more to that than what they've actually said, but I have to agree with them.
Okay. Thank you very much. Chuck?
Okay, so my name's Chuck Craig. I live on Zelstra Road in Oak Harbor. And first I want to say that I'm greatly encouraged by a number of things I've seen in the last couple board meetings and what I've heard even today. But over the last 6 months, I've attended a number of the IT board meetings and a few of the community meetings that were held up in the Oak Harbor Library. And it's obvious that the required cuts to the Island Transit route system have seriously impacted some of your users. In particular, the users of the 411 route are at a loss for being able to get to their medical, educational, and other committed appointments that they have in Skagit County. If that route is completely eliminated, some of these users have no idea how they're going to get to those appointments. And these users in particular seem to be very frustrated. Island Transit staff has attempted to explain these changes and to answer some of the questions, but sometimes attempting to answer questions for which there are no answers. But one of the answers they have provided in regards to the 411 and 412 routes, or cuts, frustrates me the most, is that they want to blame it on the state for not funding the route any longer. But what all IT staff should know, and what they should be offering as an answer, is that Island Transit failed in its responsibility to incorporate the 411 and the 412 routes into its budget. The state funding for these routes was always intended as a grant for startup funding, and it was the state's way of helping Island Transit establish service. Island Transit knew this from the beginning, but each year they failed to fund it within their own sales tax revenue. Rather, they just kept going back to the state and asking for one more funding package. And while Island Transit failed to provide funding for the 411, they expanded other routes, they used their sales tax funds to cover their required match for buying new fleet vehicles, for expanding the route system, and for their required match on this huge facility. For 7 years, Island Transit staff promised the state that they would fund these routes in the future with their own revenues, and each time they failed. Mrs. Rose was ultimately responsible as the executive director, but she isn't the only one that should be shouldering some of this blame. The past boards have all approved every single budget, and that route system just kept getting left off of it. So I would ask that Island Transit as a whole stop blaming the state for the end of the 411 if that's what happens. The state is already under tremendous pressure to fund education, infrastructure repairs, and the like. The taxpayers of this state we are paying our fair share already. Further grants from the state are only available, looking for my card, if they get the tax revenue from us first, and if some other need is then skipped over. It seems these days that some of these agencies think that the grant money just comes from a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but sorry, the taxpayers must provide it first. Island Transit grew far faster than it ever should have, and without a viable plan to fund that growth, both in the vehicles it purchased, the routes it added, and the facility it built.
Thank you, Mr. Craig.
Okay.
In fairness to everybody else who wants
Did I-
to speak to.
Okay, I didn't see
And
the
you
card.
can deliver a copy of that to the board and to the staff.
You know,
Your comments are well taken.
Along with that lines, I mean, none of you board members have individual email addresses that where we can send you documents such as this, in an electronic age. It would be helpful for us to be able to communicate with you individually or as a group so that, it didn't have to take up time in your meeting.
I'm going to address that for myself right now too, and the rest of the board members can speak for themselves. My email address is ralbert@oakharbour.org.
Right.
I take all of my public email through the
Yeah.
city. I do not take any public email or any correspondence through my private devices.
Okay.
That's just has been my policy, and for obvious reasons, because of the public records request
Right.
issues.
Right.
I have business on my personal computers and devices, and I don't commingle it with my public service. And any of the other members can address or give their email addresses. We are accessible.
No, I understand that. I just didn't know whether you wanted those email addresses used for Island Transit Board
It's
issues.
easy to separate. It.
Okay.
It's real easy.
All right.
Electronic.
I'll send a copy of this.
I serve on this board in my capacity as a county commissioner. So anything that I do related to Island Transit, I do in my capacity as county commissioner, so that email address is why I'm here.
Okay.
And Ms. Henderson,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah, I don't have one through the county council, we don't have one. But I can make mine available at my work email.
I think the same, is it the same for yours, Jim? Do you- I don't think there's one for Langley.
There isn't a official separate set of emails, but I try to keep mine separate from our household emails. So I can provide you with my address.
Yeah, I agree to say.
in the alternative, you can also hard copy us by mailing to the county or to the cities, and at Oak Harbor, we have a separate mail slot, and we often get letters, hard copies.
Okay.
And that basically leapfrogs a lot of electronic issues too. Thank you for your comments. Are there any other public comments before I answer? In the back there, could you identify yourself, please?
Gail Zalgo-Kirk. Just to go a little bit further on the 411, so that the new board members are aware. For the 411, until July of this year, we are running on a extremely cut route. The amount of, I believe it's supposed to be 12 round trips per day between Oak Harbor and Mount Vernon, and on the weekends 5 round trips per day or 9, something like that. And we're not going all the way to Mount Vernon, so there's that amount. There's that. Long story short, we're still running, have the money that we're supposed to be running a route that we're not. So we're still owing the federal government there probably about $1.5 million for the cuts that we've made for the 411 that they've already given us the money for. And we're obviously not making that route, so there are some issues here with the 411. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments before we move on?
Is the board going to respond to the public comment now or no?
Well, I was getting back to the lady here in the front. Could you please identify yourself, because I don't know you.
I'm Saranel DeChambeau. It's Sarannell.
And her question was, she wanted to know something about me. And, all right, I've been on this island full-time since 1976. I lived in Coopville, and I've been in the construction industry, both in mostly in commercial construction and development work up and down the I-5 corridor and on the island for, well, I think, I was looking the other day, and I think I've been doing this construction stuff since I was 25. I'm 70 now, so quickly do the math. That's how long I've been doing this. I've been on the, I was on the Oak Harbor Planning, actually I was on the Coopville Planning Commission before that, when I lived in Coopville for a couple of years, or for at least one term. And then when I moved to Oak Harbor after some time, I was appointed to the Planning Commission, and I served on that for 7 years. And I'm wrapping up my 8th year on the Oak Harbor City Council. And my focus has always been schedules and budgets and performance, deliveries of products and for the construction industry. And I think in my nature and my capacity on the council, my focus has always been, number one, public safety and services